coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe. For all he's with here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call. A staple of classic NASCAR takes the center stage, where tonight a legend in motorsport lives on. And with that, we welcome you to KBRN's live coverage of the iSCAR Designs Modified Tour from the Myrtle Beach Speedway in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My name is Kenneth Bueno, joined alongside by Charlie Baier and Dewey Schramm. Going to be bringing you all the action from the drop of the green flag to the drop of the checker flag in the sunset picturesque setting at Myrtle Beach. Well, we got a closing track in real life, but it still lives on in the sim racing world. And really, unlike Stafford last week, the task ahead at this track is really a whole different ballpark and really a different experience altogether.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, just like last night's broadcast at Dover National Speedway with the Street Stock Series, this track not a lot of room to work with, and kind of opposite of Dover. This track is very flat, so we're going to see a lot of cars washing up in the corners, trying not to get into each other, so it'll be a wild one for sure.
This track's also very unique amongst short tracks as well, of course, for anybody that knows about the Charlotte Roval and the turtles it has on some of the curbs. This track has turtles of its own all the way through turn 1 and turn 2, and that's to separate the cars merging onto pit road from cars already on the racing surface. So you want to try and arc your car down on the bottom, of course, because this is a low groove track. But if you take your car too low into turn 1, you might just launch right off a turtle.
Yeah, it is a different track, and a unique one at that. It's one of the more unique tracks we see this entire season, in the form that it's more of a D-shaped oval rather than the 180 turns we see, and the more stylistic ovals of Stafford and the likes of that down the season, as Thompson, South Boston, Bristol, New Hampshire all have the same format. Of course, different lengths, different distances, different sizes of tracks. But this track, it stands out from the rest of the crowd. It's kind of like a unique scarecrow with a couple colors. It kind of stands out in the schedule in the shape that it's a D-sized oval, but you have to stay all the way to the groove at the bottom. Of course, you have to mention those turtles. Dewey, you mentioned those turtles at the bottom. You have to watch for those. And then going into turn 3 and 4, you kind of have to make a little wiggle room between your car and the inside wall, which just pegs down track. And that's exactly one of the things I wanted to talk about before we get into here. But before we get into really the track facts and what we're going to see tonight, what I want to see from you guys is really the driver's standpoint. I mean, look at a couple of drivers this race. You have a handful of drivers that are making their first starts this season, a handful of drivers returning to iSCAR after a little absence, but they're making their debuts back again here tonight. And guys like Hunter Johnson, Aaron Mulrooney, those guys were the dominant factors in the dominant cars last week at Stafford. If you're a guy like Hunter Johnson, who's still looking for the first win this season, what kind of game plan do you need to execute here to beat Mulrooney tonight?
Yeah, I think really the game plan here is consistency, and no matter how scary that inside wall or those inside bumps in turns number 1 and 2 can be, the strategy here is just to hug that inside. No matter how scary it gets, you want to put your tires right next to those wall and those bumps. So that's going to be the strategy, but You really just want to stay consistent all night long. It's pretty much has to be a mistake-free race.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Consistency here is key. And of course, once you manage to figure out where you want your tires on that bottom side, try to get yourself into a rhythm to make sure you don't accidentally slip up and get into those turtles or take the turn too high and maybe give another person an opportunity to pass. So, qualifying will begin here, and it looks like the 12 of Hunter Johnson has paced the field here in practice.
So practice is now over. Qualifying will now begin. And as we begin qualifying, we always begin the pre-race ceremonies down at trackside. And with that, we're going to bring the national anthem as we salute your nation's colors from Myrtle Beach.
Cars, I want to say, are at Bristol.
Aerial shot of Myrtle Beach Speedway as we continue qualifying. Just about 2 minutes, 50 seconds left in the qualifying session. And you're looking at a handful of drivers getting their laps in. That was the 54 of Keaton Jones. Aaron Mulrooney currently tops the board, and right now Hunter Johnson taking his laps as well to see where he stands in the starting grid once we go green. But before that, we're going to continue our little pre-race coverage before the green flag gets dropped. And before we get to that starting grid, we have a little track facts and a little history lesson about this track, and then Dewey has that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kenneth mentioned at the top of the show that this track, unfortunately, will be closing at the end of this racing season, so we will bid goodbye here to Myrtle Beach in real life after having racing since the late 1950s. However, as you said, it lives on here in iRacing. It's a 0.25-mile D-shaped oval, a bit similar to the layout of Richmond and Iowa per se, but also a little bit like a regular short track. So it's a little mix of everything you kind of expect in a short track. The Xfinity Series had 13 races here, went there from 1988 to 2000. The last two of those won by Jeff Green. 4 turns, of course, 35.76 feet of elevation off the ground. We are in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the namesake of this track. It is a beautiful place to visit, and I hope I get to go there someday. But we got a minute and a half left here in qualifying, and Hunter Johnson has got himself up to the top of the board.
Hunter Johnson to the top of the board. You see a couple drivers looming into that top 3. You see the 41 of John Kosick making his first start this season as well. He's already looking promising. Then goes Aaron Mulrooney, who won last week at Stafford. A couple of drivers that are making their first starts: William Schmidt, I believe, Harry Grindle, Grayson Trexler. A couple of those drivers, Keaton Jones as well. I believe there's a handful more. Also, Kevin White Jr. making first start as well. And we got the Johnson trifecta tonight. We have Hunter Johnson and Justin Johnson as well. So I think that's a little fun thing to look around for as we go around this track. And now we got just about 35 seconds left in qualifying. So we have a little more to cover before we get down to the green flag and look at your starting lineup. We had a little bit of a longer race, a shorter race. I'm not sure. A little bit of a shorter race, just about about 47.5 miles at Stafford. Tonight we're looking at about 50.2 miles at, of course, the longer racetrack, but we have just 2 laps shy, just a little bit less than what we saw at Stafford. But still, the action will still be interesting to watch for sure. And with that, qualifying is now over. The time will tick down to 0, and the field will start to grid, and we'll start to get to your starting grid for tonight's action at Myrtle Beach for the Tolsma Designs Modified Tour. You're looking at the pace car and everyone filing in. That means we're going to get to on the center of your screen and see where everybody shakes up in the qualifying times. And as we were looking in qualifying, the pole goes to the 12 of Hunter Johnson. He sets a 17.376. He sets the fastest time. He is joined alongside by the driver making his first start tonight. That's Josh Kosek in the 41.
And starting right behind him on the inside, Aylmore Rooney Jr., the winner of last race, currently sits himself right behind Hunter Johnson. And to his outside, Keaton Jones, last season's Modified Tour winner, champion, I should say, sitting in 4th place.
And in row number 3, we've got the 44 of Liam Sheen, and to his outside, that 58 of Dominic Howe.
If you look back to row number 4, you'll find the 70 of Harry Grindle. Starts right there on the inside in 7th, and to his outside will be the 00 of Kevin White Jr.
Starting in the 5th row, George Tolsma in that 25 car, starting 9th, and Grayson Schechter in that 45 will round out your top 10.
And in row 6, we've got the 2nd of the 3 Johnsons, Austin Johnson, and to his outside, the 11 of Matthew Klein.
Row number 7 will be empty there, but of course the rest of the field will be there, so you'll find your favorite driver, see where they stand, and possibly where they could end up at the end of tonight's action from Myrtle Beach. We've already got a little bit of turns set down with these modifieds, and the pace car will most likely take that trip down pit road and will take the green flag for the first time tonight. Hunter Johnson, oh so close to a victory last week at Stafford. He's looking to get a win and go back-to-back, not only not in this series, but in the Street Stock Series he won last night. He was looking to take a win today. The green flag is displayed. The 12 will go. We are green for Myrtle Beach in the Tolsma Designs Modified Tour.
Oh, we got a car on the wall already.
And caution is out already. That's Dominic Howe turned around up against the wall. A lap 1, turn 1 wreck here. We'll get a replay of this one.
Dominic Howe turned around in turn number 1. We're going to try and get a replay. That happened exactly. And I think we'll just take a replay and see exactly what happened. But what I was thinking about, if he hit the turtles at the bottom of the racetrack, that could send you up the wall, but that wasn't the case. You see Liam Sheen gets a little bit too high, gets into the 58. Then you see, I believe that's Grayson Trexler also getting collected in there as well. William Schmidt also took a piece of that as well. You're looking at the 45s. You right there, bam, hard hit for that 45, and the 79 just almost got through.
Yeah, nowhere for that 45 of Grayson Trexler to go, and I'm not sure who that black car was on the inside of Dominic Howe, but it looks like he entered the turn way up the track and unfortunately got into that 58. And we're on board here with that 79. Is right here. He does a great job of missing, but unfortunately just clips that inside wall and gets run into there by Matthew Klein. But he should be able to continue on in this race with only 3 completed so far.
Well, caution's out for the first time here at Myrtle Beach Speedway, and this certainly won't be the last. And, well, yeah.
Yeah, we saw this reminiscent last night in the Street Stock Series race at Dover. There was a lot of early yellows, lots of yellows spread out amongst each other. It was kind of just go green, then a yellow flag, go green, then a yellow flag, go green, then a yellow flag. It seems as though right now it's looking the same, but hopefully that kabobble will end. We'll probably have a longer green flag run. Of course, everybody near the front has not changed. Hunter Johnson still in the race lead. The 41 was looking to the bottom of the racetrack as soon as they were exiting too. I think that caution kind of helped the 12 out just a little bit in terms of having that pressure early in the going. But that 41 eager to make a move for that race lead early in the race. But we still got a long way to go. And as we get into this race, as the sun starts to set even more, we'll have the lights turn on. The moon will shine up at the track. We'll have a little night racing for you in the modified tour. A little packed virtual crowd for tonight's action, and we're excited to bring you that as well. And I was talking about Aaron Mulrooney, who this week at Stafford. He's currently third right now, but other than that, it's kind of a different track that he has to attack right now. And I think if you want to get around that 12 of Hunter Johnson, of course, no Zoltan Herzeg this time around, so he doesn't have to deal with the 96 tonight. But that 12 is looking extra strong, and I think with that momentum from last night, he's going to look extra strong.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
Yeah, Hunter and Aaron, just the two most dominant people on the short tracks we've got in iSCAR. I mean, Hunter's already won the first two street stock events at Iowa and Dover, and you just mentioned Aaron last week at Stafford after battling Zoltan, so it's going to take quite the challenge and quite the effort for someone to beat those top two. And that 41 of Josh Kosek qualified on the outside pole and is still sitting in second place. I think he might have a shot here tonight.
His car rolls off, and on lap number 6, we're back underway. Hunter Johnson once again with the advantage going into turn number 1, but once again, that 41 car on the bumper.
Yeah, he's got the lead. The 12 has a now significant lead. He doesn't have that pressure from the 41 just yet. They stay single file, clean through lap number 7. They'll take the checkered flag, not the checkered flag. They'll take one more time around. As you see, we got a car on the wall. Looks to be Liam Sheen. He goes around to the inside wall. Not sure if that'll bring out the yellow. I think he just alt Ford there. So he's out of this race for now. So no caution on the racetrack. Hunter Johnson still with the early lead off turn 4.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Liam. He had a good run going in the top 10, but that, you know, even if he rejoins the session, that'll definitely put him down quite a few laps. But thankfully he did that so it doesn't bring a caution out, as Josh is slowly trying to close in on Hunter's bumper, and that 2 car is not that far behind.
And you see how close these guys are to that turns 3 and 4 wall. That's how close you got to cut it in order to run fast laps here. And you'll see it just inches away from those blunts. And you'll see it back here in turns number 3 and 4. They are almost just inches away from that wall.
They have to stay all the way to the bottom and get the maximum time. Again, you saw time was just under 17 seconds. So that's the way you got to get around this racetrack. Even if it means being inches off of those bumps or even being inches off of the turn 3 and 4 wall. And if you make that mistake there, that could really cost you a lot on this racetrack. And these cars don't really take damage too sensitively. They're not like some of the other cars on the iRacing service, so they can take a little bit of a beating and still be able to run completely fine. These cars are just a little bit different, and they're open wheeled. So if you tap that wall, that could be some suspension damage. That could really end your night. But Hunter Johnson, he's been clear of that as well. He is now currently still in first on lap number 12.
Oh, Kosek got really loose there at a turn 2, and I think he might have tapped the wall, and that's going to allow Aaron Mulrooney, the 2, to get by him for second place, and now we do have a caution on the track once again. And looks like it's for the 25 of George Tolsma.
Yeah, George Tolsma around on the racetrack. We're going to get a replay this one. Might have been a self-spin, or he could have had contact. We'll see.
Yeah, it looks like he makes a little bit of contact trying to bump the 17 out of the way. He doesn't get successful there, but going into turn 1, I think this is where he caught the trouble. Yeah, he hit those bumps, and that really unsettled the car. He gets loose, and they get spammed by the 79 of William Schmidt, who takes damage from that as well. And already we were talking about how dangerous those bumps can be with these open-wheeled cars, and that really showing out right now for the 25 of George Tolsma. He goes around in turn number 2.
Yeah, second incident already for William Schmidt as well. Not off to the best night and just nowhere to go for him. But yeah, we mentioned early on in the race, if you get your car too low in those turn 1 turtles, that might be the end result. Unfortunately, George Tolsma has learned that the hard way here on lap number 13. So we'll line him up and do it again. But yeah, we just saw right before that yellow came out, the 41 of Josh Kosek got really loose out of turn 2 and got passed by Mulrooney, and I'm not sure what he's doing here, but still in the top 3, but not something he wants to do again, of course.
Yeah, he was passed, I believe, by Aaron Mulrooney down the back straightaway. He was making a charge. He got a little loose off of turn number 2, and he almost slapped the wall there, but he was able to keep it straight, and then Aaron Mulrooney obviously taking advantage of that. And I think he has taken the position, so he'll take P number 2 once we go back green. Just a reminder that if you want to join the conversation, you can do so using hashtag AskKBRN. You can hashtag AskKBRN followed up with your question. We'll be sure to answer that here in the booth. It could be about anything in general, about the race, drivers, about our picks, pretty much anything you want. So if you want to ask that, just use hashtag AskKBRN. We'll be sure to answer that as soon as you put it down in the YouTube chat. A little way for us to interact with the viewers in the YouTube chat, so they're not too bored under these yellows as we pace around this track very, very slowly, and looking forward to that green flag. But we have 93 laps here. We had a little bit of a strategy play out in Stafford. Again, some drivers stayed out, some drivers opted to pit a little bit, get those fresh tires. Aaron Mulrooney was one of them. He spun on the racetrack and then went down pit road, was able to get his stuff figured out. Then he came back and ended up winning the race over Zoltan Hertzeg. So if there's anything with strategy, is there anything we can expect going down the road, especially as the night goes on?
Yeah, and track position is really important. So you really wanna just kind of hold your position. You just see the 41 lost it off of turn number 2 there when the 2 went by. So yeah, later in this run you'll see how important that is, and how important it is to also hold the bottom like we saw last night at Dover.
That might be a blessing in disguise for that 41 car, because of course this being a low groove track, he will be on the low side for this restart. So he might be able to get this position really quickly once again, because of course with Hunter having the inside, he has the luxury of going whenever he wants. He's going to go really early here. We're back green here in Myrtle Beach.
Second green flag restart of the night. John Kosick to the bottom of the racetrack. He down on the 2 of Aaron Mulrooney. Almost clears him. Mulrooney almost slapped the wall there. And now he's going to get taken advantage of by Keaton Jones in the 54. A little bit of battling behind them in row 3, but that's allowing Hunter Johnson to continue grabbing his lead.
Yeah, and side by side, John Kosick made a pretty close contact with the wall there. And side by side for third place, Keaton Jones almost loses it under the 2 car, but looks like they're maintaining a side by side battle here. Kevin White sitting in 5th right behind them. Could take advantage if Mulrooney shuffles out on the outside.
Yeah, nice quiet run for that 00 car so far. Ran pretty solid in his debut race last week at Stafford. Almost gets into Keaton. Oh, car hit the turtles again. That's the 021 of Austin Johnson, and we're back under caution here once again.
Those bumps are treacherous. Austin Johnson hit those bumps just a little bit, but it was enough to jump the car in the air. He got sent around in turn number 1. We'll take a replay, see what happened. He was looking for the 4th position over Kevin White in front of him, and looks like he was looking down to the bottom of the racetrack, got a little bit too low. I think he was trying to diamond the corner just a little bit, then gets into those bumps, gets sent around, hits the outside wall. Luckily, no one else was involved, but another tough look for that 021. Those bumps still not giving an inch to anyone.
Yeah, and you'll see how critical it is. You want to get down as close as you can to the bottom and gain as much time as you can, but sometimes it just comes up and bites you in the back there. So it's tough for that 021 car who was just sitting right outside the top 5.
And there's Austin on pit road getting his repairs. Looks like he's towed the car here. William Schmidt, the free pass for this restart. Looks like we'll have 11 cars on the lead lap as George Tolsma went a lap down under the previous caution. But yeah, Hunter's led them all again so far. So it's looking like another one of those nights where that 12 car just leads and leads and leads. And I'm curious to see if either of you guys think that maybe the 41 or the 2 or anybody else can try and get by him at any point tonight.
Yeah, and with an Ask KBRN question in the chat, it's from James Juggerman. Who are your early race picks? We'll bring that into your statement there, Dewey. Guys, who are you looking at?
I think right now, I mean, I kind of hit it on the nail with Hunter Johnson last night in the street stocks. I think it might be no different here tonight. Of course, Aaron Mulrooney can bring that pressure, and he has done it before. He'll try to do it again. But I think the proximity driver up front of Hunter Johnson, he's going to continue to lead laps. He's going to continue to command the field. He'll take the checkered flag, win 2 in a row, Wednesday and Thursday night action in iSCAR.
I'm going to go a bit on a limb here, and I'm going to say that 54 of Keaton Jones, the teammate of Hunter Johnson in this field tonight, will score the victory. Of course, he's still up around 5th or 6th place, but I think he's going to try and break this party up and try to score his first victory of the Summer Series Part 2.
Yeah, and the 12 car has been quick all night, but I'm looking at the 41 car of Josh Kosick. Other than those green flag runs, he's gained a lot of time, or just a bit of time over those green flag runs on the 12 car. And I think, if it comes down to it, we might see a move from the win if we do get a battle between them. I think that 41 will come out on top.
So 26 laps complete. Still a long way to go to reach that lap 93 mark at the end of the race. We'll bring up the caution graphic and show a couple of little more information about what we've seen tonight. 3 cautions so far, 15 laps under the caution flag. We've had no lead changes so far. The fastest lap set by that 41, 17.389. So that answers the question by Side Drafting Productions in the YouTube chat. 68 laps remaining here at Myrtle Beach. And with that, we're going to take the green flag. A huge jump by Hunter Johnson and a really good restart for Aaron Maroney. He's going to dip down in a second in turn 1.
And that 41 did not go, and got a bit of contact in the rear end by that 54. The 54 of Keaton Jones under pressure from that 00 car. Also behind them is Brian Mullen at 17 car, but Keaton Jones trying to use that outside to try to power around that 00.
Yeah, the 17 of Brian C. Mullen up there in that mix as well. Looks like they got about a 4-car battle here for 4th place. It looks like White ripped the Turtles right there. But keeps it going, fortunately. Harry Grindle in the 70 car trying to peak as well, and there almost is some contact between him and Johnson. And it looks like this 4-car battle is down to about 2 now.
Yeah, everything looks tame until you get to this point with Kevin White, Brian Mullen. There goes Henry Grindle under the 021 of Austin Johnson, who spun around just not too long ago. He's now fighting for that spot as well. And these guys working together, and they're pretty much all within a little bit of a gap. They're in close proximity, but right now, looks like the top 3 is kind of spreading out just a little bit, even though that 41 is just reeling in that number 2 of Aaron Maroney ever so slightly every single lap. He might make a move into turn 1, guys.
Yeah, and the 41 trying to make up what he lost there on that restart. Obviously, the 2 car got under him and took the spot away, so he's trying to get back the spot that he lost to him. Also comfortably sitting in 4th right now. Keaton Jones in that 50 feet, in that 54 car, Dewey's pick under that caution there. He's sitting comfortably in 4th.
Yeah, Keaton was a bit squirrely on that restart around Kevin White hitting the Turtles, but no worse for wear as he's up there. And yeah, it looks like Josh might have a bit of an issue on his restart. I think he had a bit of a trouble getting going last time as well. But once the run starts to get going, he's able to get himself comfortably here in that top 3. And it looks like those top 3 are evenly spread out here, and actually the top 4 as well. And we're slowly at the 3rd waypoint here in this race, so looks like this might be our big green flag run of the night. We'll have to see if we can say that way.
Top 4 has cleared pretty much everyone behind them. It starts with Keaton Jones and falls back just about a second before you reach Kevin White Jr. in the 00, who falls just a little bit behind. He might be under pressure from the 70 of Harry Grindle, who got around the 021, now peeking into this top 5. If he can get around that 00, he's using a little higher groove, and I think he might be taking advantage of that. See Hunter Johnson, I think he's not Hunter Johnson, Austin Johnson, excuse me, down pit road, so I think he might have had some issues. He's now scored a lap down, so I think he might have had some troubles within those last couple of laps after the restart. But right now, this top 4 spreading out amongst each other. That 41 kind of fell down a little bit. He might be in the clutches of that 54, but the 2 of Aaron Maroney, I think he's still there within less than half a second of the race leader. He could try and catch him ever so slightly as these laps start to wind down this long green flag run.
Yeah, and the 021 found himself on pit road. He was starting to rebound just a little bit. He was sitting right outside the top 5, past a few cars from that restart, but for an unknown reason that we don't know, find himself on pit road again. So unfortunate for him, his first race back in quite a while.
Yeah, William Schmidt's already been in 2 incidents tonight, but he's rebounded pretty nicely up there in the 9th spot, despite all that front-end damage. So we might end up with a decent night out of what was a pretty rough start to it. And Matthew Klein in that 11 car, currently in 10th place, so a great top 10 run for him in the early going as he goes a bit wide there in turn 1, but he will keep it on chugging. So I'm curious to see if he can stay up there, because this would be pretty cool if he can score a top 10 here.
Yeah, the leaders are slowly catching that 11 of Matthew Klein, but I think if Matthew can stay there or even gain some positions, yeah, he could fulfill that wish of the top 10 that we were looking at last night, where we answered an Ask KBRN question pertaining to that 11 car and saying that he will make the top 10. So he could possibly do that tonight, but the leaders are slowly running him down every single lap. And guess who's running down that 12 of Hunter Johnson? Aaron Maroney is still there. He's picking into less than half of a second, a couple car lengths between the 2, but he is slowly closing in on that 12 car.
Yeah, and old teammates. Those 2 used to be on the same team. Aaron left for SPG and Evo Sim Sports, so those two know each other pretty well on the racetrack. They've been they both ran under that proximity racing banner, but that shouldn't well, we should expect them to rough each other up a little bit, I should say.
It's entirely possible that they might. Of course, you never know. There could be some setup sharing. Maybe one of them has one before, or that was shared a while ago, or whatever. They might be on the same setup for all we know. They could be on different ones, but they have been running pretty evenly through these last couple laps, and it looks like we got one car down onto pit road. That might be Klein, I'm not sure. Yes, it is.
Matthew Klein down pit road, think he might get some tires and fuel. A little bit of service on that race car. He was running in the top 10, just in 10th before going down pit road and letting the leaders by. I thought he was letting the leaders by on the inside, but then I realized the wall was there. Probably not the best decision there, but decided to go down pit road to get some of that service on that modified car. As you see the leaders continue to gap on the rest of the field. You look back to third place, you'll find the 41, and we got a caution on the racetrack. Looks like somebody's the 41.
Yeah, Josh Kosick with an issue here, and that'll end this long green flag run we've had, and we'll have to see what the issue here is. And here he's out of turn 4, looks all right. Still in third place in front of that 54 of Keaton Jones, and we'll see. He's going through the turn, and it looks like he just lost it right out of turn 2.
Yeah, I was starting to guess that maybe the bumps in turns 1 and 2 claimed another victim, but looks like the back end just kind of stepped out of turn 2. We'll take another look at that. Looks like just slipped out from right under him.
Yeah, he was looking all the way to the bottom. He didn't hit any of the bumps, so that didn't unsettle the car, but I think the fact that maybe a little bit of the throttle a little bit too early, and especially with the bumps down this racetrack, it's not really easy to manage that throttle to keep the car straight, and these cars can get very, very loose if you put in the gas a little bit too early. You see him continuing to try and save that car as he was getting passed by Kevin White and Harry Grindle. He loses 2 spots in the process, and he's down pit road. Get those tires after that. You were looking at that onboard cam sponsored by Eel Media, and you're looking at the leaders right now. So lap 47, we're pretty much clear, I believe, almost of the halfway point of tonight's action, and Hunter Johnson and Aaron Maroney continue to dominate with Keaton Jones behind them. Those three were pretty much our almost picks, the 2 of our picks, and the 41 was involved in one of those. But you know, these 3 drivers, they remain strong in this series, and especially Hunter Johnson and Aaron Maroney, they continue to really put a staple on the rest of the field in terms of how fast they are at every track.
Yeah, and that was a tough break, unfortunately, for that 11 of Matthew Klein. Of course, if he had known the caution would come out when it did, he could have stayed out a bit longer, but now he finds himself 3 laps down because of his green flag pit stop, and the free pass on this restart will go to the 25 of George Tolsma, who, of course, hit the Turtles earlier on in tonight's event. So he'll get another shot here to gain some lead lap positions. And as the free pass car, of course, will come down pit road. But yeah, Klein's needs to have a bit of luck on his side here, because he's going to need 3 cautions now to get those laps back and try to gain some more track position.
Name we haven't really talked about this race, Justin Johnson. I believe he's getting his lap back here. He might have taken a pit stop. Currently sitting just inside the top 10 and catching up to the 11 cars. So he's had a pretty silent night here, but hopefully he can, maybe get up there and score possibly a top 5.
Yeah, Justin Johnson on the outside looking in, but he's on the lead lap, which we will very, very soon go back green, that 4. So we'll see exactly what goes on that end. But coming up to the front of the field, the 12 of Hunter Johnson, Aaron Moore, Keaton Jones, Kevin White will lead the first 2 rows to the green flag. Green flag back in the air.
And another decent jump for that 12 car, but here comes the 54. Teammates moving up into first and second place, but Aaron Maroney powering around the outside. Can he use it? And also up to the back bumper of that 54 comes to 00.
Yeah, Maroney trying everything he can to make that outside work to keep that position, and he does so successfully. And whoa, Kosick drove it way deep into turn 1 and pushed Kevin White out of the way. He won't be too happy about that, but Kosick gets 4th place back from that. And I did not see that coming. That he came right into the camera shot and just shoved him right out of the way. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin might give him just a little bit of payback later on.
Yeah, and almost more contact. He dove it into the inside, almost made contact with the 54 of Keaton Jones, so another pretty close call. He might have gotten tires. He might have gotten tires after spinning out, so maybe he's got those fresh tires and he's using that to his advantage, but obviously a pretty fast car on the racetrack.
Yeah, again, these top three have not pit yet, so those guys are still on the older tires, still on about 54-lap old tires. Meanwhile, the 41 has pit recently after his little spin down in turn number 2, so he's using that to his advantage, and he is willing to even move drivers out of the way. You see him almost make contact with the 54 of Keaton Jones. He does so just a little bit. Those drivers very, very aggressive early on, and hard contact sends a 54 up the racetrack, and in turn 4, he's going to take people.
Yeah, Josh is taking no prisoners here tonight. He's got much fresher tires in those top 2, but he's got to be careful here, not only just moving these guys out of the way, because he might making some rivals on the track that might want to pay him back later, because now he's got 2 right behind him that probably want to give him a piece of their mind. But on top of that, he's got to make sure not to use up those tires, but trying to get up to those top 2, because if he uses them up too much, he'll be right even with those 2 again, and he'll be just plateaued in that 3rd spot.
Yeah, moving closer to the back bumper to that 12 car. Here comes the 2 of Aaron Maroney. We saw him get a bit close on that last green flag run, but he has closed the gap a lot. And just a few feet away from that back bumper, you could pull a Josh Kosick and put the bumper to him where you can try to race him a bit more cleaner. But all in all, still good racing up front here.
They're approaching the lap car of Harry Grindle in the 70. He's going to move to the outside, let them go by on their own discretion. Holds up the 2 just a little bit. That hindered the 2's run. He was just down the back bumper. He was peeking to the inside of turn 1. But then ever since they caught, I believe, no, that is not the 70. That is Grayson Trexler in the 45. So just excuse me on that there. I saw the back bumper just a little bit reminiscent of that 70 car, but he's moving out of the way, staying to the outside. And look how loose the 41 gets. You were talking about how using up the tires early in the run could potentially hurt that 41 down the road, and it could be a factor. He was getting loose off of turn 2 there, and he still hasn't caught up to these guys up front yet.
Yeah, and Grayson Trexler kind of has that reputation of being the Ryan Newman of iRacing. He does not give any room as a lap car and likes to pin people down, but there's some of these guys comfortably, but some uncomfortably getting by, but he'll put up that gap between the top 2 to almost a second.
And so a passer position back there. Harry Grindle got around the 00 here if Kevin White was looking to. I think Trexler may have gotten in the way of that a little bit as those 2 would get on, but I noticed Keaton Jones was tightening that gap between himself and that 41 of Josh Kosick, so we'll have to see here these next couple laps if there might be some payback between those 2.
Yeah, the 41 made some aggressive moves. He might be in the payback zone once this race continues to go green, and if those guys behind him like Keaton Jones and Kevin White Jr. can make a move and possibly get up to that 41, but so far they're pretty much spread out, and that really spread out the top 2 ever since they reached that lap car of Grayson Trexler. Mulrooney still has a little more work to do now. He has a little bit of time to pick up on that 12 as we continue down with just about 30 laps remaining, just less than that right now.
Yeah, and he has been gaining. He gained just 3/10 on that 12 car, so Aaron definitely has almost a faster race car than that 12 car, and is using it to close that gap once again. And I think if the timing is right, we got a yellow flag here, but to finish my statement, if the timing is right, we could see a battle for the win.
We'll have to see what the cause of this is. Might be George Tolsma, the 25, once again, and looks like it in fact is. That's the 2nd time he's gone around tonight, unfortunately. We'll have to see. Racing around, I think that's the 00.
That's the 4 car of Justin Johnson there.
Justin Johnson, yeah.
I think there was contact between them.
Might be into turn 3 here.
No, it doesn't seem to be. I think the crossover might have been the one to send him around, because I saw a driver and there's the contact between the 4 and the 25. So that sends the 25 around. Might be some tensions building up between these guys. 5 ended up spinning around at the cause of that one. I think the 4 might have just been going up the track to maybe arc the corner in turn 1 and 2, but I'm not sure. But that 25 must not be happy with that.
Yeah, that's gonna bunch everyone back up again. That 41 car Obviously, these guys are gonna be bumper to bumper on this restart, but kind of at a disadvantage is that 2 car of Ale Maroney, who's gonna be stuck on the outside of that 12 car once we get back going green.
Yeah, that 41's got to think it might have a bit of a target on his head here on this restart. I would not be surprised at all if the 54, the 00, gets into him here on this restart. And of course, he'll be, looks like he'll be starting in third, so he'll have Keaton on his outside and Kevin White behind him. So I would not be surprised at all if one of those two gives him the bumper. But yeah, back to Justin Johnson. I don't think that was actually intentional. It looks like Mulrooney has come down pit road from second place. So that just put a huge twist on this, as that'll put Cossack up to second place on the outside and Keaton to third on the inside.
Oh yeah, Aaron Mulrooney down pit road, and last week at Stafford he went down pit road obviously for a different reason. He went around Stafford. He was turned around on the racetrack, and that's the reason why he went down pit road. But ever since he went down pit road, he was able to breach back into that top 3 and take the lead away from Zoltan Herzog, who hadn't pit the entire race. So this could be reminiscent of what we saw at Stafford. We saw a little bit of a preview with the 41 of Cossack, where he had those fresher tires and he was able to breach back into the top 3, and he didn't catch the leader just yet over that run as soon as everyone started to spread out. But he still had the better tires. He still had the better car at that time. Aaron Mulrooney might be looking to that same situation once we head back green with just about 23 laps remaining in this event. There's William Schmidt letting him by, and the rest of the field letting him by. Those are the lap drivers. So we have a couple of cars a lap down, and Aaron Mulrooney will start on the lead lap on the outside. I believe he'll start just to the outside of the 4 of Justin Johnson. But considering the fact that those guys really aren't squaring up and doubling up, he might just take that inside instead and have that working out. But you mentioned the target on the head of that 41. We'll see if that gets struck by the 54 or the 00 behind him as we take the green flag under the 12's discretion. He'll go on the gas pedal. We are green back at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, and I think the 2 car is pulling a bit of strategy, because we saw the fresh tires right here. Oh, to the back bumper of the 12 he goes, and hitting the bumps. All around goes the 41.
Might be a bit of karma there for that 41, as he was just about trying to move that 12 car out of the way for the lead, and he definitely got the worst of that exchange and got into those turtles. We'll have to see what caused that here. But he got a pretty good jump on the restart.
Might have been a stack up between him and the 54 and the 12. He was just stuck in a sandwich there going to turn 1. You see him giving the bumper to the 12, and he got him a little bit loose, looking to the bottom, and didn't have space, and then backs up, and then the 54 is there to send him around. So maybe a little bit of payback on that end, even if it wasn't too intentional. But that 41 really aggressive on the restarts, and he tried to look for that access to the race lead and just couldn't get it done. He goes around on the racetrack, looks to be no one else involved. He'll probably go down pit road to get some of that damage repair, and you see him just wobbling around the racetrack after the incident. And just a tough break for that 41. I think the karma got him back, as you mentioned. That might be the case.
Yeah, pretty aggressive on the restart. And moving under green, I mentioned I think the 2 car was pulling a bit of strategy here, because you saw that under that last green flag run, you see how those new tires really gave that 41 a lot of speed. And I think Aaron Mulrooney realized that there's not a lot of cars to pass if he pits and goes to the back. So he's already up to 4th place with those fresh tires, and I think that if he can stay consistent, I think he'll be a real threat to the win, because he kind of leveled out with Hunter Johnson in speed along that green flag run. So I think with those new tires, I think he'll be at an advantage.
All right, so we got 74 laps down, just under 20 laps remaining. And we're heading to the crunch time period as you're looking at Justin Johnson down. Also the 41 taking a look down pit road to get some of that damage fixed from that last incident. Of course, Justin Johnson might have had damage from the previous incident with George Tolsma, so he might be looking at a little bit of fixing with that machine, but we'll just have to see once they go back out on the racetrack. We're looking at 8 cars just now on the lead lap. The 41 is the last car on the lead lap, and he might get lapped as soon as these guys pace around as he's trying to get his damage fixed from that incident. But Hunter Johnson still continuing his dominance. He led every single lap last night in the Street Stock Series event. He's looking to lead every single lap here tonight. He was almost pressured by that 41, but that 41 just really had nowhere to go and that pretty much almost ended his night, and he'll be set back in a big hole that he has to really dig himself out of. But now the driver's coming back. Aaron Maroney is now into this top 5. He's now into 4th. So that fresh tire move, and especially with the caution coming out, that helps him immensely coming to the green flag. He will start in the outside, however, so he might have to give way to the guys down low, which includes, I believe, Harry Grindle is down there, so he might make a move and just let him by for the time being. But if he's faster, he'll get that way around, and he'll definitely carve his way back in the top 3, and he has the opportunity to do so. And now that we're reaching this final segment of the race, another caution comes out. That means another green flag will come out, this time by Hunter Johnson. The 54 of Keaton Jones leads the field back to green.
Green, green, green.
Another really good jump, but here comes the 000 car of Kevin White Jr. And to second place he goes. Keaton Jones loose on the outside. He's going to go around off of turn number 2. That might bring out, yes it does. Caution is out once again. That 54 car, I guess, just got loose in turns number 1 and 2.
Yeah, he saw him go really wide into turn 1, so perhaps he realized he may have an issue. I wonder if it had anything to do with him running into Josh Kosick on that previous incident. Yeah, right here, he didn't really get going that much on this restart. And then turn number 1, he enters really high. And then midway through the turn, you see right here, it just snaps right around on him.
Yeah, it snaps around. He doesn't seem to make too hard of a contact. I think he kind of got away there without a scratch there. You see on board with him. He seemed, takes the loop around, getting loose and overcorrected, tried to snap the car back into place and ended up snapping it around. He's down pit road, getting those fresher tires after those tires kind of took a beating going around on the racetrack. But this track really isn't forgiving, I should say, for a lot of these drivers, especially going higher on the racetrack. Those bumps on the racetrack really get to the cars, and especially considering how low those cars are, it can really upset the car. And we've already seen it a handful of times with the bumps. We've seen it with the Turtles down in turn number 1 and 2. It continues to be a trend at this race, and it's probably not going to dissipate anytime soon.
Yeah, I think... Go ahead.
I was going to say, believe it or not, we only have 15 laps to go here, or 14 now. So this race, despite these couple incidents, has gone by extremely fast. So Hunter Johnson has led every single lap so far here tonight. He did that last week at Iowa in the street stocks. But man, I've got my eye on that 000 of Kevin White Jr. Came out of pretty much nowhere now to get that second spot. So time is running out for these guys to try and make a plan to get around that 12.
Yeah, I think turns 1 and 2 has really been the spot for wrecking here. Because I don't think we've seen a single wreck downs in turn 3 and 4. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think turns 1 and 2 is really where these guys have found some trouble. But just a little facts. Just a little, I don't know. Fun fact, I guess, kind of. The top 2 cars have not pitted all race. That's the 12th car of Hunter Johnson and the 00 of Kevin White Jr. Right behind him, Aaron Mulroney Jr. and Harry Grindle are both on the same stint. They pitted 13 laps to go. Right behind him, Josh Kosick might be getting an EOL from that incident. He pitted 6 laps to go, and the rest of these guys pitted less than 3 laps to go. So that's going to put the top 2 cars of Hunter and Kevin at a bit of disadvantage from the guys behind them who have the fresh tires. Do you think that'll really play out as we finish, or as we enter just 10 laps to go?
Well, I think with these cautions, I think it's helping out that too more than really. Many of Harry Grindle pitted on the same stint, like you mentioned. That could help them in the longer run, considering these guys have older tires. It's just a matter of being at the position on the racetrack to dip down low and make that move. And we saw Aaron Mulroney do it. He can possibly do it again, but it's all a matter of what happens between the guys up front. Keaton Jones was one of the drivers who was stayed out the entire race until then. He pits now. But we are back green with just 11 laps through. Hunter Johnson with a good start. Aaron Mulroney and these guys stacking up behind.
And Aaron slid in the second. That's going to be critical for him because now he can focus on getting to that rear bumper of the 12 car, maybe making a move for the win. But Kevin White Jr. not done yet, trying to inch closer and trying to take back second place.
Yeah, check out Keaton Jones in the 54. He just spun out to bring out that caution. Now he's already up to 4th place with the freshest tires of anybody else in the field. That 54 car definitely is not out of this thing yet.
He is not, but neither is that 2 of Mulroney. Still peeking to the back bumper, that Tolsma design. He has been looking at that almost all night. He's going to try to get around that into turn number 1. The 2, the 12 wiggle just a little bit, but this could be the stint to the end of the race if we don't have a yellow. Aaron Maroney still to the back bumper into turn 1 on the front straightaway.
And Hunter's got a bumper full of black and green right behind him, and Aaron Maroney is really aggressive here, and I can assure you that he's gonna make, at least if he's there on the last lap, he's gonna make a last-ditched effort for the win, kind of like we saw last night.
Yeah, I think Aaron's going to wait a bit, though, because you don't want to make that move now with about 7 or 8 to go, because that leaves the door open for the car you bump and run to get you right back. So Aaron's going to time this probably either on the final lap or with 2 to go to try and get that lead spot. And it looks like he might be wasting no time as that bumper cam is right inside of Aaron's car, and he's trying to look low here but can't quite get there.
I mean, there's only so long that you can wait before desperately trying to make that move, because Aaron pretty faster than that 12. He's been faster for a good portion of this race, and I think with that mindset, it's like, I have to get by the 12 or else I'm probably not going to get by. You see a little wiggle down the front straightaway and tap the wall there, but he's still in contention for this race win, and we've got 5 laps to go. This is the shot for Aaron Maroney to take his 2nd win this season.
I'm surprised Keaton Jones fell off as much as he did, because he literally just pit for tires, but he cannot get anywhere and actually lost a bit of time on that restart, unfortunately for him. But man, that 0-0 of Kevin White Jr. got to think 6th around there last week at Stafford in his first start, and now he's on pace for a podium here tonight. So that 0-0 is off to a really good start here in iSCAR.
And just 3 laps to go here at Myrtle Beach, and that gap has not opened up as much as it is right now, but that doesn't mean that there's not enough time for Aaron to still catch up. Coming to 2 more circles here around Myrtle Beach Speedway for the 12 and the 2 car, trying to inch closer to that back bumper, and we're gonna see this come all the way back to the checkered flag, and we'll come around in turns 3 and 4. 1 lap to go here at Myrtle Beach.
Aaron's there. He's might get a run here into turn number 1. Hunter's gonna block down on the bottom side. Aaron might get into him right here. We'll have to see. And looks like Hunter will keep that lead out of turn 2. One last chance here for Aaron into turn 3 to try to make this pass with a win.
Here he goes with the bumper to that 12, but it doesn't look like it's winner on Wednesday. He's a winner on a Thursday. Hunter Johnson wins at Myrtle Beach. He takes his 1st win in this season, 2nd in a row from that win last night, and another win to that proximity resume. Aaron Maroney tried getting there. He was so close to that race win, and he was trying to eagerly bump that 12 to get him out of the way, but it just wasn't enough to send him out of the way. Hunter Johnson is your winner. He'll bring him down the front straightaway. He'll celebrate once more 2 nights in a row. Hunter Johnson has been on fire. He takes his 1st win this season. Aaron Maroney 2nd. Kevin White Jr. finishes 3rd. And a good start for him. It's his 1st start this season as well. So he gets a nice 3rd place finish out of that. Burning it down the front straightaway is the 12. And with that, we'll take the results live on the front of your screen, of course. So you're looking at the race winner, Hunter Johnson. He gets his 1st win this season. Then goes Aaron Maroney, finishing just short of the checkered flag. Kevin White Jr. with a top 3 finish, just 2 seconds behind them. Then goes Keaton Jones, who we were talking about on that last restart. Harry Grindle with a top 5. Josh Koscheck ends up finishing 6th. Then goes Justin Johnson in the 4 car, finishing 7th. George Tolsma, 8th. William Schmidt, 9th. Matthew Klein, 10th with 46 laps down. William Schmidt was the 1st driver a lap down on the racetrack.
And just outside the top 10, Brian Moley, 51 laps down. Quick end to his race there. Grayson Schechter, 12th. Austin Johnson, 13th. Got in a few incidents there. Liam Sheen, 14th. Dominic Howe, one of their early wreckers here, finishes 15th. And in last place, 67 of Sean Leisure, which I don't think he even started.
Yeah, unfortunate for Liam Sheen. He was up there in that top 5, top 10, but unfortunately alt F4'd on that spin he had and prevented a caution. But congratulations once again to that 12 of Hunter Johnson. We'll scoot ourselves off to the side here, and we'll be back with the interviews of the top 5 finishers here at Myrtle Beach.
KBRN's coverage of the iSCAR Tolsma is sponsored by iRacing. Join thousands across the globe, and sponsored by Eel Media. Get your graphic design done just at eel.media on Instagram, and by Supermix Super Concrete Blocks on demand. Welcome back to Myrtle Beach, where we've had an ecstatic race, and the winner goes to Hunter Johnson in that 12 machine. He takes the win tonight in his first win in this iSCAR Modified Tour season. And with that, we're going to bring him into the booth, see what his thoughts are into victory lane. Welcome, Hunter, to the KBRN booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you took the win last night. You take another victory here today on a Thursday in the Modified Tour this time around. Tell us how your race went. Tell us what that perspective was going to those final laps, knowing you had that right in your mirror.
Well, that was by far one of the more tough wins that I've gotten in a while. I knew that Aaron and Josh were both on fresher tires on those last couple of restarts. Josh was able to move me out of the way, but I think he got his left sides in the turtles down in two, and he spun, so that saved me. Then also, I mean, I was just like, for those last 10 laps or so, I was just absolutely busting my butt trying to not make any mistakes, as well as trying to keep speed with Aaron, who's obviously way faster than me at the end. I mean, even on the same tires, he was able to figure out something in the middle of the race and catch up to me. But I think the caution saved me at certain points. But that was just that I'm really happy about that one.
Yeah, you take another win in iSCAR. You continue to add on that win list, and you continue to go higher and higher to that resume. And I want to talk with that incident with Josh Koslick in the 41. He was kind of looking to that inside and, peeking down the bottom. He gave you a little bit of a down there, and then I think the bottom just got the best of him, and it kind of sent him around, I think, trying to move around and not really much space to maneuver. Was there any problem with space here at Myrtle Beach, knowing that you have to stay all the way to the bottom with those bumps and the wall in 3 and 4?
Well, I mean, you can't it's not like a track where you can kind of throw it under the yellow to or throw it under the line to get to somebody's inside. If you get in those turtles, you're either going to spin or you're going to get really loose, or you're going to get sent up the track. So I just kind of felt like all I had to do to keep him behind me was to, even though I was getting a bump and run, just to try and hold the bottom as best as I could, even if I had to slow up, because I knew if he tried to go to the bottom, he would get into the turtles there. So I mean, I think that was maybe the second time he tried to get a bump and run on me there, but I think the first was in the beginning of the race. But I mean, that's fine. That's racing. I would do the same if I were in his position, and I'm sure he would try to do the same to block me if he was in my position.
All right, well, Hunter, we're going to let you celebrate your win here in the Modified Tour at Myrtle Beach. And before we let you go to celebrate in victory lane, you got any sponsors or teams you want to thank on your victory tonight?
I gotta thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, especially when Ezekiel's having trouble to, make the show, and thanks to Proximity Racing for all the stuff they do.
All right, Hunter. Well, another win to your resume. That must feel good for you tonight. We thank you for taking the time to talk with us here at KBRN, and we hope to see you in the next couple of weeks and continue your dominance from there.
All right, thank you.
Hunter Johnson out of the booth. Another win for that 12 machine and Proximity Racing. We're going to take it over to where he finds second placed Aaron Maroney, fitting number in the 2 car in the Evo SimSport machine. He'll get the interview with Charlie.
And into the booth he goes. The 2 car of Aaron Maroney. You got a copy with us?
Yep, I got a copy.
Well, Aaron, so close to a victory here at Myrtle Beach, and pretty much came down to that last corner with the kind of a last-ditched effort to, I guess, move him out of the way. But I want to talk to you about that last lap. Is there anything you could have done differently to maybe made a move to the inside or bumped him a little harder for the race win?
Yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have backed up all the corners on him since his tires were fading and mine were a little bit newer. So odds are if I just did that, I probably could have just gotten some momentum off the corner and gone under him, but I just made the mistake and didn't realize it until it was too late.
And you mentioned you had the newer tires, and we saw you pit about halfway through the race. And was that a strategy? Because Well, was that a strategic move on your part? Because obviously, there's a less amount of cars to go through if you're stuck in the back. So, do you think that those fresher tires really helped out getting back to his bumper in the last run?
Yeah, I'd say so. Those fresher tires definitely helped us be able to get back up to Hunter and work our way through the field. I mean, I just couldn't capitalize on my mistake at the end of not being able to figure it out, but it's whatever. Go out and get him next week.
All right, well, Aaron, we appreciate you coming out here and racing with us in the Tolsma Designs Modified Tour. We wish you the best of luck next week, but before I let you go, do you have any teams or sponsors that you want to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting, and I'd also like to thank Evo Sim Sport and Sim Performance Group.
All right, well, Aaron, we'll see you next week, and we wish you the best of luck, man.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
And we're already outside of the booth, and for our final interview of the night, we have Dewey with Kevin White Jr., so we're going to send that off with him.
All right, Kevin, got a copy? Man, you've had yourself a pretty strong start to your time here in iSCAR. Got a really good finish last week at Stafford, and you round yourself out in third tonight. How'd you do it, man? How's your car out there?
It was actually great. All it was about keeping my nose clean for the first 60 laps and then having at it for the last 30. And I knew I had to beat Austin and Mulrooney there, but I didn't have the tires to catch them. And then on that last restart, I spun them really bad. If I could redo that last restart, I would. I feel like I would have had a better chance at taking home the dub for Trexaco Simsport.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I kind of thought if you maybe didn't spin the tires there and you kept up with those top two, you may have had a shot at them. But third's third. I still think you had a pretty good night overall. What's your mindset going into next week now?
Yeah, just try to finish two spots better. After last week's finishing sixth, after coming through the field again, after an EOL, really big confidence booster here. Learned a lot. Gonna take it on the next week.
It's a great strategy to have. Kevin White, thank you very much for joining us in the booth here. Before I let you go, any sponsors you want to thank here for tonight?
I would like to thank Trexaco Simsport for giving me this opportunity to race in this league. And I would like to thank you guys for putting on this broadcast for me.
All right, Kevin White Jr., your third place finisher here tonight. Good luck next week, bud.
Thanks.
Kevin White out of the booth. He finishes just inside the top three. And with that, we are clear of our interviews for tonight. Done as opposed to the rest of the field. But guys, we went through a pretty quick race here, quicker than we expected, despite it being 93 laps. Was there anything really to take away that might play into a factor next week? Charlie, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think some rivalries are definitely brewing up, and I think for the championship, I think it's going to be a dogfight between the 12 and the 2 car. Those two guys are very strong, very skilled iRacers in the service here, and I think it'll definitely be a really exciting battle for them for the championship. But some things to take away from this race specifically, I think that I did mention those rivalries, so I guess that's the thing I'll take away.
Yeah, my takeaway is Hunter Johnson is really good at short tracks. Of course, we already knew this. We already knew Aaron Mulrooney was really good. But, man, Hunter is on a whole nother level, even with being that good at short tracks. Of course, he's already won 3 of the first 4 races between the Street Stock Series and this modified tour. And I would expect him to be right up towards the front next week as we go up to Thompson, Connecticut.
Yeah, you mentioned Thompson, Connecticut. And with that, on the third race to Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park in the oval setting, we'll take another short track there. That'll be 96 laps, a 60-mile event. That'll be next week, July 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Might be right here on KBRN, but if not, then we'll make sure to let you know. And that might be on Max Speed TV for the time being. But, I really took away from this race and how crucial, those 2 top drivers are. You mentioned Hunter Johnson, Aaron Mulrooney. Aaron Mulrooney is known as a short track king, but I think over this season, we might see a challenge for that throne with the 12 peaking up and trying to sit there and trying to take the spot away from Aaron Mulrooney. So a very fun night for them. And I think going into the rest of the races at Thompson, South Boston, Bristol, and all the way to the finale in New Hampshire, we're going to see those 2 tango with each other for that points lead and possibly for more race wins down the stretch. So that pretty much is my takeaway from tonight's action. But if you enjoyed watching tonight's action on the KBRN Racing Network for the iSCAR Modified Tour, we thank you for tuning in with us on a great night here at Myrtle Beach. And for everyone at iSCAR, for everyone here at the KBRN Racing, for Dewey, Schramm, and Charlie Baier, my name is Kenneth Bueno saying good night from Myrtle Beach. Thompson is next. We'll be there next week.